So I'm in somewhat of a pickle because I recently got engaged and I have to plan a wedding. While I completely trust my ability to plan a wedding, there are a lot of tasks that have to be done and a lot of people with whom I have to talk and with whom I have to coordinate things, and well, I really prefer not to talk to people in general, so I'm going to have to delegate. For this reason, I've decided to do my own private little tier ranking of the 16 personalities based on their reliability. Now, although judging people is something that I do in my head a lot, I have not done an overt ranking of people since the MySpace top friend days, which were traumatic enough. So I've taken all of my medication as this task has the potential to stress me out immensely. And I'm just going to give a little disclaimer to future me, who I know will not be able to sleep at night knowing that this video exists and has the potential to be leaked out to her friend circles. Remember that you have put this video on a locked USB and it is safely tucked away in safe number 12, the one reserved for things so shameful that you never open it. And you will burn said USB, safely of course, the day after your wedding. So to reiterate our life motto, no more freaking, there'll be no leaking. So the tiers that I've come up with for this ranking are as follows. Our first tier is dream dependability. And just before you have a panic attack, future me, I did try to put that detestable single Y up a level so that it was part of the word dependability, but this website must have been designed by savages, so it doesn't let me do that. This will be for those with whom I feel more than comfortable trusting with any task, big or small. These people will be happy to work for me, advocate for me, and they'll probably enjoy doing so I'll feel less bad asking them to do things. The second tier is really reliable. These types are equally competent and dependable with tasks and deadlines, but they're not necessarily excited by the idea of helping or planning, so I probably won't give them as much to do. Or there's another factor that's getting in the way of me fully trusting them. The third tier is common competence. I'd probably avoid giving these people anything too big to do, but I definitely trust them with smaller tasks. Task. I'd only give them one task to do to make them feel part of it, but I'd secretly complete that task as well to make sure that it's properly done. The fourth tier is high risk hazard. This tier is for types who have proved themselves so unreliable that I probably wouldn't give them any tasks unless there was some kind of emergency, and there won't be an emergency at my wedding. And the final tier is deranged danger. This tier is for types who are such a gamble that I fear that they might actually do the opposite of help. That is, sabotage my wedding, whether intentional or not. So, my nightmare. So let's begin. Beginning on a positive note, the ISTJ definitely has dream dependability, a quality that is coveted by many, myself included. What am I doing? I'm the only one who's going to be watching this video. I don't need to be humble. Of course I possess this quality. If you give an ISTJ a task to do, they'll complete it by the deadline, they'll be thorough, and best of all, they'll stick within the set parameters that you give them without trying to put their own spin or creativity into the mix. Of course, there is the issue of how scary they are as people, but that's not a relevant factor in today's ranking. Next is ENFJ. Now, they are also very reliable, but because of their time blindness, I'm actually going to put them in a tier down. They do get things done, but they tend to leave things till the last minute or impose their own deadline onto things. Not maliciously, don't get me wrong, but that's not the kind of stress that I personally need in my life. So I'll definitely give them tasks to make them feel included, but it'll be more sort of in the moment tasks, such as, can you talk to my great aunt at the bridal shower? Or can you chop some melon for the guests? Or can you go and talk to that one friend of mine who's busy crying in the back room because she feels that she'll never get married? I'm putting ISFP in common competence, and that's not a personal dig, it's just I don't trust them. I would only really give an ISFP, better move that mouse away. I would only give an ISFP a task if I could be sure that they had some kind of personal investment in it. So if it involved one of their passions, hobbies, or someone that they cared about. But all of the ISFPs invited to my wedding are in the B or C list of the guest list, so that emotional investment isn't high enough for me to trust them to follow through. ENTJ also just misses out on the top tier, also because of time blindness. If you're the kind of person who consistently shows up over 5 minutes late to our coffee dates, I'm just not going to trust you with important tasks. Promptness directly correlates to trustability. Again, it's not a personal attack. I'm just making judgments about a person's inherent character here. ESTJ is of course going to join ISTJ in dream dependability. ESTJ is 100% the person that I'm going to ask to maintain correspondence with my vendors when it comes to bargaining, enforcing deadlines, and my most dreaded task, chasing up RSVPs. I have 2 ESTJs in my bridal party and I'm not even close with them. I just needed someone who was going to be able to be brutal so that I don't have to cry myself to sleep every time I have to send a private message to someone reminding them to RSVP. I hate that my singular pet peeve is involved in wedding planning. People forgetting to RSVP. It's a sickness. Next is INTP. I don't even have to convince myself here. High risk hazard. Not only are deadlines an issue with INTPs, but I have not received confirmation that any INTP cares about the aesthetically driven or emotionally sensitive spirit of wedding planning or weddings in general. I personally think that they'd be more than happy to never plan a wedding in their lives, and I'm not about to force them to plan mine. Speaking of high risk hazard, see, I'm conflicted here because no one would put more heart into a task than an ENFP. At the same time, I have a very strictly planned day-to-day schedule of what the next year of wedding planning looks like, and I need people to stick to deadlines. And I can't even trust ENFPs with tasks such as go and chop some melon because they'll probably discover some distraction on the way and my hopes for chopped melon will die, along with our friendship. I think what I'll do is I'll invite the ENFP in my life to some wedding planning sessions for idea generation, but other than that, I'll just ask them to contribute positive vibes. That way they'll feel like they're involved somehow. But my love for my ENFP does not take away from the fact that they are regrettably still a high risk hazard. ISTP is going in common competence because I already know that I'm going to be asking them to construct the awning for our reception. I also know that I'm going to be asking them to help me move house, fix the plumbing in my new house, chop wood for and start the bonfire at the wedding reception, and several other things. So actually they should probably go in really reliable with the caveat of with things involving tools and not social interaction. ESFJ. They go in dream dependability because they have already planned us an engagement party, which is very sweet of them. Usually I'd avoid ESFJs with party planning because they tend to project their own ideas of visions and planning onto the planning process. But I've noticed that as a bride, there's this magical rule in place at all times of me being the 100% final authority on all decisions. So as much as I hate being a leader or a dominant voice in any capacity, I'm going to continue to play that card with the ESFJ. Oh, ESTP. Regrettably, deranged danger, and I feel bad enough for putting them into that category, so I'm not going to explain it. Future me knows. Now, INTJs can certainly be reliable, but I can't imagine anything that they'd actually care about when it comes to wedding planning. I might tell them to finesse a business plan for me so that I can make more money to afford my wedding, but actually on second thought, they might end up taking over my business. Or I could gently hint to them at some things that I need done at an affordable price, which might inspire them to do some research for me, which might lead them to become frustrated over how overpriced wedding costs are, which then could lead them to starting their own wedding business and giving me a discount. But to be honest, I don't see myself actually doing any of those things, so I'll just put them in common competence because I also don't see myself asking them to do menial tasks that I know they're not going to enjoy, despite the fact that they often subject me to pointless rants about humanity that I don't particularly enjoy. I mean, INFJ is reliable in some sense, but they also have time blindness. I don't know why so many people suffer from it. And I have noticed that they tend to get less motivated with the passing of time the further away we get from the initial idea generation. So they're a bit of a wild card when it comes to deadlines. But I feel really bad about judging them because they're so nice. Oh, hang on. I don't have an audience for this video. I don't have to lie. Common competence will do. ENTP will definitely be invited, but involving someone in my wedding planning who loudly proclaims on a regular basis how much they don't believe in marriage is not exactly romantic to me. Also, there'll be fire and ice sculptures at my wedding, so maybe they won't even be invited. I'm afraid I can't place ESFP anywhere other than really reliable because I'm currently in denial as I've taken someone's advice to choose someone fun for our MC and asked my ESFP friend to MC our wedding. So I really need to keep telling myself that they are reliable people, otherwise I'm genuinely not going to survive the next year. Let's be honest, as well-intentioned as they are, INFP is just not someone I'm going to be approaching with tasks. And that brings us finally to ISFJ, my own type. Of course they're going in dream dependability because this ISFJ is actually the only person that I'm going to be really depending on. Because let's be honest, even though I've made this entire tier ranking list, what's going to happen in reality is that I'm actually going to feel too bad to ask people to help me with things. And so I'll end up working myself into a tailspin doing everything for myself, which will slowly but surely crush my soul and end in me eloping with my fiancé and then crying privately because I let myself and everyone else down. Okay, that's the end. Now time to embark on this magical journey of colour coordination, mood boards, handling conflicting expectations from all the people in my life, taking on even more emotional burdens from others, and communicating with several hundred people at once. Help.